Yo, Forkies, I'm here on live YouTube. I am streaming live my lesson with a GM Tamás Bánusz as every Wednesday so far. This will be my fourth lesson, I believe, with him. Fourth consecutive lesson. Today we are going to be talking about the opposite colored bishops. So I can't wait to find some ideas that Karpov find in his games. I'm waiting for GM Tamás Bánusz to join me. He is not live just yet, but he will join me any second now, and then we can start streaming together. You can see I'm streaming on YouTube and on Twitch all together now. So the chat on the screen is from both platforms actually. So yes, there will be voice from Tamás Bánusz when he joins me. I hope he will do that as quickly as possible. He is live, I think. So I will just knock at him, and then we'll find if he's ready for the lesson with Forky Chess. So this should be it. We should be live any second now with GM Tamás Bánusz. I'm waiting for him to join. On my on the call on Twitch, of course. So yes, 1 second, and he might be live. Yo, yes, I do. I do. Yes. I think you hear me as well, right?
Yo, do you hear me?
I do.
Wait, is he muted?
I think we should be.
No, I hear you now.
Oh, okay,
Everything?
great.
Everything?
Yes,
Don't worry. What's up?
great.
How are you
Nothing
doing?
special. I'm doing pretty fine. You?
All right. Me too.
Great.
Alrighty. So I give you access to
To the classroom? Yes.
yeah.
I am
Oh,
in. At least I should be. Yes.
Hey, great. I brought you another game from Karpov. As you are probably used to it, we are checking a Karpov game. And today's topic is opposite colored bishops in a middle game with heavy pieces.
Great.
Alrighty. So, this game was played between Anatoly Karpov and Alexander Halifman, two world champion. As you guys know, Halifman was a world champion in this KO system. You know, in the World Cup, what we call today a World Cup.
Okay.
And the battle of two world champions in 1995. I'm not quite sure where this game was held, but this is not really important. We got this very, very dry position out of the opening. Tell me what you think about the position. Tell me some stuff.
So yes, I know that when there are heavy pieces on the board with the opposite colored bishops in the game, you are trying to attack naturally. And this particular position, the f7 pawn looks kind of weak, but there is always e6, so I don't think that has to be some sort of big problem. Also, the d4 pawn maybe stands slightly weak. I'm not sure if you
which
can...
one? Sorry.
D4 for white,
The
but
d4.
I don't think you can actually utilize that just yet.
Yeah.
I mean, this 4-on-3 on the queen side also looks something, but of course, endgame seems tends to be, of course, pretty much drawish with the bishops on the board. So yes, I I would try to find some active plans in the position.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not sure. I think white should stand better. He has more active bishop, at least
Yeah.
by the look.
Also the space advantage
Yes, of
is
course.
in white's favor a little bit. All right. I mean, white's pawns a little bit far advanced, compared to the black pawns in the center. But there is no real,
Danger.
danger or no real target for now. So obviously, but by the way, white is on turn,
Okay.
obviously. So in order to, you know, get some initiative, you always have to create some weaknesses, at least a target or something.
Okay.
Obviously, what is the main principle?
I mean,
What is the main principle of the opposite color bishops?
you want to attack the opposite king, right?
Um,
I mean, because
yeah,
you have
but
one
I
more
mean, it's not
attacker.
necessarily, yeah, not necessarily talking about the king. I mean, it can be a target. It can be just weak squares. It can be, I mean, the principle, how I always put it. So yeah, we can say, let's say, if white is attacking the king, most of the cases, if you are managed to create some weaknesses on the light squares, you are always attacking with one extra piece, because
Yes.
obviously the darker bishop is not giving any extra hand on the light squares. It's just black's position is just too massive at this point,
Yes.
and already like three pair of minor pieces were traded. So it's hard to see that how white can win this game.
Yes.
How would you play here?
Um, Probably intuition. My intuition says that h5 has to be considered. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, I would try to make h5 work. I think that's a good move. Just trying to pressure some white squares, white pawns. Um, yes, I think h5 is very logical in the term that you want to make some weaknesses on the light squares.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe um, it's nothing special. I think.
Yeah, h5 is not doing so much, but it's definitely, a possibility for later, to just advance the pawn all the way to h6, or maybe just taking on g6, king g2, and rook h1. Whoops, something like, something like h5, or pushing h6. Also h6 nowadays, it turned out many lines. Um, as a second, I was, analyzing countless of hours, and what I realized in modern engines, so many lines, many openings, this h5 h6 plan became like super, you know um it was in back in the time, it was very underrated. Every line where white advanced the pawn to h5, always h takes g6 was the
Yes.
plan,
Yes.
always, every time. But I mean, engines just made us understand that this h6 move is actually, it's a
Strong.
long term plan. Yeah, it's a long term plan, because uh, it just pushing down black's position, and it just creates like permanent, threats in the back rank. Unless, of course, h6 pawn can be weak as well. So you have to overprotect it. You have to make sure that you overprotect that pawn. But whenever, let's say, you manage to get behind black's position, you can, let's say, open up you can open up some files later. Black's king can be very vulnerable thanks to this pawn. So that pawn is just super strong. I'm not so sure which plan would be better, taking on g6 or pushing h6, but yeah, h5 h5 h6 is definitely, or h takes g6 is definitely. What else do you have?
Now that I'm looking, I also think c5 might be very interesting. With just the
Right now,
I think.
what if white black takes on c5, dc5 and
Oh,
e6?
oh, what am I talking?
We kind of resign there, no?
We kind of do, yes.
Yeah. So whenever you are trying to push something like c5, you have to be super prepared for that. Now actually you try to create some threats on the d file thanks to the pin, but actually you got
Yes, I
counterpinned.
mean,
So yeah, I mean Karpov is I mean Karpov was a very patient man. So yeah, this c5 is maybe later can be a thing, but not at the moment. What Karpov was probably the best at of all time, he won games like in a way that he just put his opponent, under serious decisions. So they always forced his opponents to just make very serious commitments and very serious decisions.
okay.
And by that, he just actually gave them the chance to go wrong and make mistakes. So if you always put easy moves to your opponent's hand, it's very even let's say the rating gap between you is huge. It's not going to be easy to outplay your opponent if you only give him the choices of easy moves. So you always have to make sure that you put your opponent under serious decision makings.
Okay.
This is exactly
Logical.
what happened in this game as well. So Karpov was just being Karpov. So what else you can? We mentioned h5. You mentioned c5. What else you can actually do?
Um, so out of these kind of more forcing moves, I think the only one remaining is Queen f4, but after Queen f5, I don't really um enjoy my position. I don't think I.
Yeah, you might after
Yes,
queen f4, queen f5, you might create one double pawns, but
this is nothing. Yeah.
by eliminating the queens from the board, I don't know.
Yes.
It's hard to believe that you can target this guy down. Or also e6 is coming. So yeah, the last in order to win the game, the last thing we want to do is exchanging queens,
Of course.
unless we create more weaknesses.
Oh,
So now, mm, trading the queens are not
of
very
course.
useful.
So the only thing that remains us is to make something more quiet. So at least I feel like.
You have to count on black's e6 move. So this is probably gonna happen. So let's say also what you have to just really count on for black's plan is e6 d5, for example. Black tries to simplify the position. By that he can actually do that. I'm just showcasing. Let's say you just make a random move with king g2.
Yes.
Black will play e6, bishop f3, and d5. And let's see if you take all of a sudden we have a very symmetrical center where both d4 and d5 pawns are targeted by the bishop, but none of these pawns can really over attack, right? And pushing c5 is always double-edged.
Yes.
It's hard to tell who is going to be benefited by by this push, because if you take black is going to have very massive central pawns, but in the same time you are having queenside majority. By the way, chess coach Adrash, thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate you. How are you, buddy? So yeah, I'm doing play like Karpov content as always on Wednesday mornings with Forky Chess. Guys, also make sure that you follow Forky Chess. Give him some love. Check out his channel, also his YouTube channel. He's posting a lot of YouTube videos. So yeah, pushing d5. I'm not so sure who will. Who will get benefited out of c5 pawn, c5 push. I'm not so sure. If you take, then you just the position becomes way too simple, where I don't think you can simply overcome. I mean, h5 h6 would be very very massive right now, as I said, creating some long-term weaknesses around the king, and making the king vulnerable in long term. Always back rank. So whenever you push h6, black has to count on back rank mates. So this something you can probably use for later. So you definitely have to count on e6 d5, because obviously against Karpov, Halifman's goal was just simplify the position.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe I move the bishop and I play, if e6, then I play d5 myself. Maybe.
Come again, sorry.
So that means that maybe I need to move my bishop first, and if he plays e6, then I could play d5, but I'm slightly worried about e5.
That's another structure I'm not so sure about. Like, let's say you move the bishop. Whoops, I just made king d2. So you move the bishop, let's say e6 and d5. That one I'm not quite sure, because black might block the diagonal from the bishop, but after f5 e4, he's gonna have a massive center. And since you played h4, your pawn chain after, let's say, f4 push can be weakened even more. So in general, I don't really think that this d5 e5 favors you, because now, I mean, you have such a hard time to create a passer on d5 with out of the d5 pawn. But after f5 e4, all of a sudden, we can see like a huge difference between the bishop. This bishop will have a long diagonal. It will be like a monster on this long diagonal. Meanwhile, your bishop is just getting back to e2 or g2, and it doesn't really have a target from that point. I mean, look at it from e2.
Yes,
it's just simply just watching his own pawn. It doesn't need any extra eye, right? So, and if you put it back to g2, again, it's not very useful. So now our bishop has a long diagonal, although it's not targeting much, and black is not planning to put anything in the way. But yeah, this d5 I don't think it's very 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 good. So yeah, in this game there are a lot of potential pawn structure decisions you have to make. But what Karpov played, I mean, Karpov is the father of simple chess. You don't have to think like anything extra. He's just trying to create weaknesses and trying to improve his position. And as I said, what he was the best at is putting his opponent under serious decision makings, serious decisions to make. So yeah, how can you do that? h5 was a very good plan, but I'm not so sure in case of h5. Again, the queen can get to f5, and maybe this pawn can be weak in the long term. So most of the cases, whenever we push h6, it's a very most of the cases the bishop can only go back to h8 because the rook is usually on f8. But if the bishop get back to f8, you have to make sure that this pawn will be well protected, right? So you have in order to protect it, you have to play king g2, rook h1. Yeah, I don't know, but the h5 is definitely something we should count on later. How can you by what move you can actually make your by what move you can make your opponent to decide of the fate of the pawn structure. Usually opponents, like lower rated opponents, will go wrong in terms of deciding the fate of the pawn structure. That's usually the case, because if you have a better understanding of the pawn structures, then you have a very good chance to outplay your opponent positionally.
Yes.
You have to create something. Otherwise, I mean, black is gonna go e6 d5, and good luck from there. So,
I mean, I can go bishop f3. I can also go king g2. I mean,
yeah, but these are just like random moves. These moves are not
my idea is to push
anything.
My idea is to push h5, but okay. I was also looking at b4. Of course,
b4, a4 is maybe hanging.
I play b5, e6.
But okay, let's say he goes e6 first. Let's say he goes e6 first. If you go b4, he goes e6 first, bishop f3, and now he takes. In case of b5, he goes d5, and yeah, this is too direct. For Karpov. Karpov will not sacrifice a pawn, just like that. Only if he has something, something coming after, something serious.
Maybe I push a5.
Yes, sir. And then black has to decide whether he would like to hold it or push it or take it. This is exactly. I also have a nice collections of this matter of push, take, hold. That in chess, that's very, very important.
Of course, yes.
Thing. I didn't want to mention it because if I mention it, obviously,
yes.
Then the solution would be just too obvious, right?
Yes.
So yeah, exactly. This is what happened. He played a5, and now okay. Maybe the position didn't change at all. Maybe it's not doing any harm in black's position. But later on, if we take on b6, we just actually created a weakness, right? Because you would think that okay, but nothing just changed, right? But okay, this pawn is all alone. It's all alone. It didn't really, the position, it didn't change in terms of pawn islands. It's just the same, 2 versus 2. But this b6 pawn is going to be a loner, because
Yeah.
it was so much more difficult to target a7 than than b6, right? So
Yes.
let's say if we take on b6, also from that point we might have an a file which we can use. I don't know. Or in many cases, a6 is a thing. A6 is a thing, because if from that point black is going to push e6 d5 later on, if you put a rook on b7 combined with an a6 pawn, I mean it's just such a big threat every time, because only the rook can because since it's on a lie square, the bishop has nothing to do with lie squares, right?
Yes.
So only the rook can take on b7, and all of a sudden after a takes b7 with the pawn taking on b7, I mean that's it creates immediate danger, right? So you still don't know if you want to take, or you want to hold it, or you want to push it, but you are putting your opponent under serious decision making, where you actually give him a chance to go wrong. That's in positional chess, that's massive, and Karpov was simply the best at it. Also, Magnus is he's not bad as well. He is kind of decent. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I mean, Magnus is the goal.
Yes, of course.
All right. So, Khalifman played d6, bishop f3.
Okay.
And now, okay, let's check the position from the black side a little bit. How would you defend here? What would you play? Would you hold it? Would you take it? Or would you push it through? How would you play? By the way, Khalifman went wrong.
Okay, logical.
Logically, he had 30% chance and he went wrong. He went. I mean, he went for the logical approach, but yeah. I don't want to make spoilers here.
I think I would just play d5 here.
We just play d5. D5 is also logical, in my opinion. In case of d5, although the very thing I just showcased earlier could happen in case of cd, ed, h5. And the position might look very symmetrical, and it's not only looks symmetrical, it is symmetrical. But after white is pushing h6, all of a sudden white can create some danger around your king, because you cannot now you don't have that chance like just as at a5 you don't have a chance to push take. You can only hold it. I mean, obviously you cannot take on h5. You can't push through. So you have to allow h6. There is no other way to handle the position. And after h6, it might get a little bit trickier. The queen gets here, and all of a sudden, I mean, black is running into a lot of mating nets, in terms of the back rank. So I'm not quite sure about this. Not quite sure about d5. Because by d5 you are actually creating after d5 cd ed basically you immediately created two open files.
Okay.
And this h5 only it's getting even stronger than before. Okay. So while in this position h5, since there is no open file so far, this h5 h6 is still, if you can if you can manage to keep the position closed. If you are trying to keep the file closed. Okay, after AB, probably there will be one open file, but it's not that relevant. So you can actually keep this h6 pawn under control. But if you just create two open files, it's all of a sudden it's getting interesting. So I'm not so sure about about d5, although engine likes it, but we are not checking this game and any of Karpov's games from engine's perspective. Logical. I don't even using engine. I'm not running it because we are only taking checking these games from practical point of view. Who cares about the engine? Of course, the engine is not engine makes plays our games, unfortunately.
I mean, I would definitely eliminate the option of taking on a5. I mean, a7 pawn is probably dropping there, and also before b5 is coming, and but I don't think I want to push b5.
You see how difficult it is. Like all of a sudden we made this a5 move, and now you are struggling.
Yes.
Now you're struggling. It's especially like I'm pretty sure you know this feeling from before, that whenever you are facing like a much higher rated opponent, all of a sudden you are losing your objectivity.
Yes.
You wouldn't be that objective as, let's say, against a much lower rated opponent.
Absolutely.
Because you're always questioning yourself. You're always doubting in your thoughts that, oh my God, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe my opponent knows it better. I mean, he's the Grandmaster. He's a better player. He's a higher rated player. So, I mean, being objective, especially against Karpov in these situations, if you just check the game, all right, it's a boring opposite color bishop, who cares? It's so much more than that. So,
absolutely,
yeah. Keeping your objectivity against higher rated players, that makes you a better player, because the more objective you can be, the more the more better you can play. So yeah, I mean, all of a sudden this a5 is putting you putting you under some serious decisions to make. Yeah, so you said you don't want to take, you don't want to push, but yeah, maybe.
Yes, I don't want to allow a6 as well, so.
Yeah, as I showcase, it can be annoying, right? But I mean, the other question is, after, let's say, white goes a6, you probably don't want to go d5 from that point. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I mean, white, if white goes a6, I'm not so sure if there is a serious follow-up from that point. Because
agree, yes.
white can't. The problem is white cannot really force opening up files from that point, unless maybe a6 and maybe b4 some c5 as you showcase. I mean, obviously after a very serious preparation, maybe.
In a game, I still think I would probably push with b5. It's probably the most logical move. I actually don't see why not to push b5. I guess you can still play a6 and bishop b7 then.
Actually, this is exactly what happened in the game.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, who can blame him? Actually, it was not a bad move. It was not that bad, but
practically.
This. I mean, this b5 move. It only makes sense, right? Because after b takes c4, black can go rook b8. Okay, c5 is never really a huge deal because if black goes d5, white might have, it's not like a classical protected pass pawn because there is no e3 pawn. Yes. But this pass pawn doesn't seem very, very dangerous, and the bishop is not having any target on the long diagonal, and d4 pawn can be weak.
Of course.
But according to engine, okay, this is crazy. According to engine first move is b takes a5.
Wow.
This would be the last move I would ever make, right?
Yes.
Because you just what I mean, why is this any good? In case of queen takes a5, because black has some very direct play here. Queen c7. Obviously, trading the queens off is not it cannot be cannot be an option. For example, after rook a1, let's say queen takes a5, rook a5, and here comes d5. And in case of c5, all of a sudden after rook b8, wow. These pawns are a little bit weak. So we might have, like strong pawns in the king side, but just think in the queen side, sorry. But think this through. I mean, d4 is actually super weak, right? And this bishop has no target because this pawn structure is just simply better than this. And not only this is weak, but also rook b4 is getting very annoying. So you like this position combined with queens, this would be, I think, better for white. But queens are not on the board. So the rooks are freely like openly can come after our pawn structure, which is obviously not very good. If let's say white is trying to avoid trading the queens, let's say queen c3, for example, black can go a5. And actually, is this really weaker than this?
Yes.
Now that we think through, no, it's not. And black is always keeping an eye on d4 pawn as well. So in that sense, we have two weaknesses, and I mean, black has maybe only one. Let's say we go rook a1. Okay, actually, black cannot really go rook a8. So a5 is weaker than b3, but we also have d4. So in that way, it's like something between equal. So let's say d5, c5, and rook b8. Obviously, rook takes a5 would met with rook b3, queen b3, queen a5. We have a pass pawn, we have a passer here, but this is weak as well. So I mean, since this bishop has simply no targets. So if we could already push like this, that would be awesome. But it's just we are so far away from that, so it's not going to happen. In case of let's say rook a4, stopping rook b4 and stabilizing d4, just rook b7, and black is doubling up, and all of a sudden the position is like very, very balanced. It's about 0-0-0. So in order to full equalize here, b takes a5 was the only way. I mean, but good luck finding that. Finding that. I mean, I believe chess, modern chess is a little bit different than the 80s and 90s. So super grandmasters nowadays might find b takes a5 because chess became so much more direct, so much more forced in these days. Like calculation is I mean, taking over a little bit the classical chess, but still b takes a5 it's very hard to evaluate as the best move simply, or because you still don't feel the danger. You only play b takes a5 if it's like, I mean, you have no other choice, right? But the position still doesn't feel that dangerous so far. So yeah, he played the very logical b5 pawn, b5 push. How would you play here? Okay, I mean, probably Halifman just missed Karpov's next move, which was like quite surprising. Quite surprising.
I think I need to play a6 before he does. Although, yes, I think I would play a6 here.
Does he really want to put his pawn on light square, giving you a target? Because I think a6 can be more targeted than a5. I mean, by the bishops. I mean. I mean, with a6, I'm not so sure if he can take and queen a4, and hitting c4 and hitting a6 in the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit problematic. Because let's say if you could already play, I'm just showcasing.
Yes.
Yeah, something like this. If you could already do, if you could already do this and maybe rook c7, c5 or something, I don't know. But even d4 is hanging. Yeah, it's hard to make it happen. Wait,
Okay.
c4, bishop d4. There is rook c4. Hold on. So yeah, something like this. That could be. This could be interesting. This could be interesting because you just push c6 and this guy is just weak. You don't necessarily have to play c6. So this could be like something. I mean, the bishop on b7. Also, the bishop on b7 is looking quite nice because you can just push the pawn. Right?
Yes.
So this would be awesome. But a6, I don't think a6 is working right now.
Hold on, maybe I wanna push c5, but of course it doesn't go, so maybe I go queen g5 first. Attacking the pawn on b5, maybe it's not that big of a threat. Oh, because yes, d5, d4 hangs if I take. So my idea is queen g5, and if let's say a6 happens, then I push with c5, and I'm very happy with my position. But
what if he, after queen g5, what if he takes and let's say queen a4 again? And now you have such a hard time to protect everything, right? Because this is hanging. The rook is hitting c4. The bishop is hitting d4. The queen is hitting a5 and c4 in the same time. So feels like once we pushed a5 and all of a sudden we are moving our forces from the queen side. So it's not like a position where you can just push something on the queen side and the king side and basically your opponent cannot do anything about it. I mean, your opponent also has some counterplay in some cases. So this b takes bc queen a4 is kinda annoying. The move he made, it's at first you might think that, all right, what is this? It only makes sense once you see it happen. It's not going to be easy. Karpov was playing here for the queen side pawn majority, but with a little modifications, little modifications.
So with that being said, I think now taking on b5 actually, and playing b4 and bishop e2.
That's why I said with the little modifications. But yeah. By the way, I was just thinking, in a blitz game, I would probably go queen a2. I know it might seem weird, but what I would try to do is it just simply, I mean, preventing, being prophylactic. Just this b takes queen a4 is just super annoying. How can I stop that? I can play queen c2, but I just, in general, I hate to put my queen in a pin. And also, I'm not taking an eye on a5. So by this queen a2, I'm still, keeping an eye on a5, keeping an eye on c4, and stopping this queen a4 madness. But the problem is, just black goes just h5. I mean, he doesn't allow this h5 plan, and from this point, I'm not so sure how we can make progress. Maybe c5, maybe c5, maybe c5. And okay, this is, I'm not so sure if we can make progress here. That's a very good question, because yeah, we have a passer, but even if he just makes a blockade on the light square, it's
we cannot
maybe we can do something on the king side, because any pawn push favors us massively, right?
Absolutely.
So black, from this point, black cannot change the pawn structure. Maybe we can prepare for some g4 and h5. Maybe this plan can be interesting. And if we can distract the pieces from the queen side, we all of a sudden we are having a protected pass pawn. Protected pass pawn is, as my childhood a trainer explained, it's not strong because it just creates immediate threats. It's a long-term plan. It's a long-term danger in your opponent's position, because he always have to keep an eye on that pawn, because it can always run. When it's just, let's say 3 squares away from being promoted. But in the same time, you can take it because it is protected by pawn or pawns. So this doesn't want to run at like right away, but it's just a long term problem in black's position. So I'm not so sure. Maybe queen a2 makes a lot of sense to me. This is what I would play in a blitz game. I would never come up with Karpov's idea like in the blitz game. Maybe not even in a classical game, because Karpov is just Karpov. But this is why we check these games to learn. So yeah, I mean, you were heading in the right direction with the c takes b5, but we have to make sure we add something first.
Yes, but my problem with playing h5 is simply b takes on c4.
Not h5. Then not h5. You don't have time for h5.
Yes,
BC,
exactly.
Yeah, BC, queen a4.
Yes,
and again. You can. I mean, you came up with this plan earlier, and I said we don't want to do that. But I mean, the position has changed since then. The position has changed because queenside pawn majority is allows you to have counterplay in that case.
So d5 is the move, right?
Yes, d5.
But
exactly. This is what happened. You know, because you mentioned d5 here.
yes,
This is so much different.
of course.
Because after a5, black will never take. Black will never take, or he never push. He will just hold it here, and he gets f5 e4. And I mean, the difference between the bishop is going to be massive. Your bishop has no target here whatsoever. But the position has changed like a lot from here, because after d5, let's say he goes e5, you can just take, and now you can play b4. And all of a sudden, the bishop gets back here, and you are pushing b5, and you have this square for your rook as well. This square is massive for the rook. So I'm just showcasing, highlighting a possibility. Let's say black just playing h5. We go bishop e2. Let's say queen b7, b5, whatever, and rook c6. Look at this. It's all of a sudden it's so much different. Who cares about f5 e4
yes,
now?
exactly.
I mean, we have queen side point majority. We have c5. Whenever it takes, d takes e6. So this is what Karpov's plan was all about. That's why he pushed d5. d5 is such a smart move if you think about it. This is why I said it only makes sense once you see it, when it happened. But coming up with this plan is just crazy, right? Because yeah, and again he just lost the coin flip. Halifman lost the coin flip. Before it was not a coin flip because he had three choices. Now he had two choices: taking on c4 or pushing e5. And of course he lost the coin flip. e5 was the right move. e5 was the right move, but only NG found a brilliant counterplay, which for a human being it's not very easy. So cb5, queen b5, b4. And now here comes the engine. Rook c1, rook c1, rook b8, rook b1. And it seems like, bishop e2, b5 is inevitable, right? Here comes the engine, e4. Dynamical play above all. Like he needs to bring, the bishop immediately to the game. Otherwise, he's just screwed. Bishop e4 and queen c4. And with the idea of bishop c3 and hitting the bishop in the same time. But like seeing all this from the beginning is just impossible.
Yes.
Bishop d3 and he has queen c3, because if we take, we are up a pawn, but we can protect our pawn. So queen takes c3 is cannot happen. Queen d1 and now bishop e5 for some reason. It's also a very important move according to engine, because if you take, I think it's just rook c1, rook c8. Right, and forcing the bishop get back to f8, and it's not very good.
Of course.
So yeah, this e4 was the only way to keep the balance. Otherwise, bishop e2, b5 is coming, and from that point, the queen side pawn majority is just too far advanced.
Yes.
It's just from that point, black doesn't have time for counterplay like that, because we can also create some weaknesses after h5, ag6, queen g5 if he went f5. This pawn can be weak.
Yes.
So he simply doesn't have enough material to create counterplay there with f5 e4. So this was the right plan. But he took on c4, and now what? What do you mean he lost the coin flip? Because basically he had two choices: taking on c4 and pushing e5. And of course, he was not doing an actual coin flip during the game. I'm just saying that when you have two choices, when you have 50-50 chance,
yes.
They say it's a coin flip. Obviously, Halifman he was a world champion. He was not, he didn't rely on coin flips or anything. Of course, he relied on his calculation, but his calculation was wrong. Here comes the whole point of this d5 push.
Yeah, so I think I have to take back because otherwise c3 comes if I play b4, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I could also maybe take on e6 firstly. Um, Not sure what's the difference though. Yes, I think I take on e6 firstly.
Of course, of course. The only move what makes sense.
Yes, of course.
Only move what makes sense. Because if you take b takes c4, all of a sudden the
Yes, yes, yes.
the previous idea is just not available anymore.
Of course.
We don't have queenside pawn majority simply.
Yes.
And now, I mean, we don't have c6 square for the rook. We cannot push b4, b5. I mean, now obviously, if this was the plan of Karpov with this d5, then it was just wrong. It was just wrong.
Yes.
It would be the same thing as just playing king g2, takes, play h5, and this.
Yes.
Of course, in this position, he would never make d5 move, obviously, because we from this point, just playing d5, we are just losing the opportunity to create, a pass pawn.
Of course.
I mean, we can create d5 possible, but this never happened. Let's say if the bishop gets back to f8, we can never push c5, right? Because it's just protected. So from this point, we can never really create a pass pawn on the c file. Obviously, we will not do that. And of course, we would lose, we would lose the benefits of this long diagonal bishop if we push d5. I mean, we should never make this. Obviously, after d takes c6 was this intermediate was very, very important. And now, unfortunately for black, there was no right, recapture. If he takes with pawn after b takes c4, we might both have, like 3 pawn islands here, but the
Yes,
idea
h5.
of h5 is it became even more,
Of course.
even more strong, because there is no f7 pawn. So if we create, a weakness on g6, we can simply over attack it. And king g to rook h1 again. Black is left without any target, and in the same time, look at this, and this. I
Yes.
mean, yeah, you see. I mean, these 3 weaknesses. G6 is not weak now, but it will
But
be
it will
after
be.
H5, G6. So basically, black is having, 3 weaknesses in this position. Not only mentioning, the possibility of rook b1, rook b7, followed by a6, This is very important. And yeah, this is just a horrible position. He took with e6. I mean, he took with queen, and now obviously b takes e4.
Yes.
And now, very important detail: rook takes c4 is not hanging because of bishop d5. So this was very, very important. And this position, I mean, from the beginning, it was very easy to misevaluate. This position is borderline losing. By the way, you might think that, okay, why am I saying such nonsense? Like how can this position be losing? First of all, you're playing against Karpov. This reduces your
wow.
survival chances. Second of all, simply because of the difference of the bishops. This bishop is getting to d5. It's going to be massive on d5. Attacking f7, which after h5 is getting even more problematic for black. And if the bishop gets to d5, gets on d5, we can release the rook from c1, and we can penetrate on b7 or followed by a6. And what did I say about a6 rook b7 combo? Whenever the rook tries to take it, all of a sudden we have a takes b7. Let me showcase real quick. Let's say h5, bishop d5, whatever, rook b1, rook c7, a6, whatever, rook b7. And now, I mean, this rook on b7 is like a constant threat. I mean, black simply cannot do anything about it, because if it takes, I mean, this is a resign angle, obviously, because again, black cannot do anything with the b7 pawn. So from now on, this is weak, this is weak, and yeah, I mean, maybe we can also go here with the rook take, and then go with the other rook on b7, and this simply is just unbearable. So this position was very easy to miscevolate for black, and if this bishop could get to c5 somehow, you know, getting the same outpost as our d5 bishop, that would be slightly more different. But this will never happen. I mean, the bishop can only get, you know, to c5 from d4 or from e3. I mean, we just have to make sure that this will never happen, or from this diagonal. But obviously, I mean, we should never blunder something like this. That's it. We have to make sure that we cover this square, and this square. And you know, the bishop can come from these angles. We will always take care of that. This will never happen. So, and you know, Karpov is just from here. He was just in, like, by every move he made, he was just simply improving his position move by move, slowly.
Yes.
Khalifman played queen f5, king g2. He did rush with bishop d5. I mean, there is no need to put the bishop there just yet. King g2. Black played bishop f6, and now, of course, a6. This is exactly what I showcased. You know, this pawn is weak. This pawn is super strong. It can always be protected by bishop b7, and you know, the rook is just coming to b7 eventually. Okay, h5. Rook e1. I mean, now what Engine said, like serious action could taken like right away with queen e3. Oops. Queen e3 was super strong, because in case of rook c7, just rook b1, and we are coming to b7. Yes. Even stronger. Whenever rook takes c7, just queen a7, and you know, this pawn cannot be stopped of getting promoted. So obviously black cannot take on c4. Let's say, sorry, it was rook d7, not okay. It doesn't really matter. Rook b1. No, rook c7, rook b1. Sorry, rook c7, rook d5. I'm sorry, okay. I'm getting confused. Queen e6, queen d2. Now, you know, rook e1 is a threat in some cases, also combined with c5 later. Maybe if you know, this rook, if we make sure it's not protected.
Can I hear him?
Yeah, let's rook c8.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, rook e1, queen d7, queen d3. Now again, we have this plan with rook e4 and g4, and slowly, I mean, black cannot really do anything. The rook cannot leave d8 square because this is hanging. Rook e5, bishop e5 is not possible because rook takes c5. We always have c5 plans. So I mean, black's position is just simply bad. It seems like black doesn't even have a single weakness, but actually his position is just simply bad because because of a6 pawn, because of d5 square, and because of the opposite color bishops. Because as we showcased, as we both highlighted from the very beginning, the most important principle of the opposite color bishops. So now this bishop is not giving any extra hand on the light squares, right? If we can create weaknesses, weak squares, and play on the light squares, this bishop will be just helpless, and we are simply playing with one more pieces on the light squares, and black is defending with 3 pieces. So that means we are kind of piece up. Queen a4, let's say, with some counterplay, and this allows a very, very nasty tactic, rook e6.
Wow.
And in case of f takes e6, just queen g6, bishop g7, and queen takes e6. Yeah, if he goes to h8, just rook takes h5. If he goes to king f8, just rook f5. So I mean, now we can see what happens. This is exactly what I said when I mentioned the light squares. Look, every piece is of ours on light squares, and all the weaknesses on the light squares. And this bishop is just not doing anything, right? So yeah, I mean, but this didn't happen in the game. Karpov played rook e1. As I said, slowly but surely he improved his position. He put his rook on the open file. Rook c5 was played. Bishop d5. Finally, he put the bishop to the center. Rook b8. Of course, Karpov, the father of prophylactic chess. Rook b2 is coming. Rook b2 is threatening. What does he do? He prevents it. He doesn't run anywhere. That's the beauty of it. The bishop e4 now. I think it was time trouble. So so maybe he didn't play the most precise moves. It was move. This was move 32. Queen c7. We protected the c4. Queen d3. Rook d8. Now the rook left, b file. Now the bishop can go back. No need to keep it on b7. Queen a5. And now he decided to, in order to improve the position even more, and just he doesn't really need this pawn. He needs to he uses 3+1 rule basically. Which piece can be massively improved? This one is not really, because it cannot really get to the b file. The bishop is in the perfect square. Queen is it can be anywhere, like so fast. So the queen, we are never really. Whenever I'm talking about improving pieces, I'm not talking about the queens. Queens are not the ones we need to be improved. I mean, queens are moving so fast. It's a long range. Piece. It's just moving so fast. Of course, the rook. The rook has no penetration on the e file, right? Because the bishop is. That's the only defense. What the bishop does is just actually stopping e7. So what did he do? In order to get this rook, improved, he played rook b1. And from now on, as I said, rook b7 is unstoppable. This pawn just did its duty. It pushed all the way to a6, and we don't need it anymore. That was a sacrifice we could make in order to win the game.
Yes.
I'm not even sure he took. Yeah, he took.
Okay.
Rook b7, rook f8, and now he played rook e2. And look, this is not doing anything. This is defending. And as I said, f7 pawn is just too precious, and is just unbearable. Again, the same exact tactic will be available. But and there was another plan which was very, very strong as well. Just what happened in the game. He played rook a5, tried to create some something, let's say rook a2, and if he could manage to trade one pair of rooks down, he could maybe survive if he can stabilize f7. But of course, this will never happen. And he played rook e3, such a strong move. Now rook f3, rook takes f6 is probably unstoppable, because if the bishop leaves f6. F6 square. F7 is hanging, but rook takes f6, combined with queen d4 is just winning the game. He played rook a1, rook f3, rook e1, and rook takes f6. King f6, and after queen f3, black resigned. He tried. I think even queen d4 was winning, right? Rook e5, f4.
Yes.
And this was also winning. King f5. Yeah, probably this was, this was because it was move 41. So he already got, the extra minutes. In
Yes.
1995, I think it was already 30 minutes. I think it was not more, maybe.
Okay.
And but queen f3 check is just winning the game because king e5 is queen f4 mate. In case of king g7, I guess he just takes, queen takes f7, king h6. And I believe this is going to be made
Checkmate.
like in a classical way, This we already know.
Yes.
All right. So this would be it for today's session. Today's
Great.
play like Karpov with opposite color bishops. So yeah, there were a lot of elements again of 3+1 rule, pawn structure decisions, and yeah, this push take hold. I can also bring more of these games for in the future because this is a very interesting topic.
Absolutely.
Indeed, and I'm not so sure what type of with white you are an e4 player, right? But with black, let's see, against e4, what do you play? What is your main stuff?
The Caro-Kann defense.
The Caro-Kann, all right. In the Caro-Kann, there are also a lot of pawn
correct
pawn structure decisions, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very, very difficult topic because it just decides the fate of the game for forever. It's very, very, very permanent. Like the famous saying of Dvoretsky, right? So be careful about pawn moves, especially in time troubles, because pawns are the only pieces on the board which never go backwards. So once the pawn is pushed, it's permanent. It's permanent. You can't change it. So it can change, the structure of the position. So be careful about pawn moves, right?
Yes.
All right. See you next week.
Yes.
Next week I'm still there. The week after that I'm not so sure, but we will
okay.
talk. We'll talk.
No problem.
We'll talk. We'll keep in touch.
Right.
All right. I think I continue with some survival puzzle rush, I think, for let's say 2 hours. All right, Forky. Guys, make sure that you follow Forky.
Thank you.
Forky's channel. Let me give him a shout out if I haven't done it yet. Forky. How do you spell it? I never know if there is no spaces, right? Forky and C is big.
Yes, correct.
Forky chess, like that. Yeah. All right. So guys, make sure you follow Forky.
Thank you.
He is. What days are you streaming?
Depending, but yesterday I had a stream, and on weekends I also stream quite regularly. So.
All right. So I guess people can see your schedule in your profile.
Definitely.
So yeah. All right. Also make sure you check out his YouTube channel. By the way, if you check out his YouTube channel, you can also check out my YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yo, one dev little man. Guys, in the meantime, I'm going to show you guys what Mr. Van Dev made for me. Again, I'm not going to do it every single day, but I'm going to make a coffee now, and I'm going to put the intro video what Mr. Van Dev made me. I mean, I'm speechless. I don't know, man. When he made this video for me, this was probably the best day of my streaming career. So guys, I'm coming back with a coffee. I continue with Survival Puzzle Rush, and in the meantime, enjoy the intro video.
So this was it for today's session, I believe. So yes, now I have to get back to school. Actually, I have to get back to school. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the follows. I've just reached my followers goal on Twitch. I have 69 followers, which is quite a lot. So thank you for that as well. We will be in touch. I hope you learned something today. And of course, check out my YouTube channel as well. I will put the link in the chat right away. And yes, if you enjoyed the live stream on my YouTube, please check out some